women who have seen it all in life. They are within the age brackets of 73 and 90 years. An encounter with this group of women who have spent the last 3 years in internally displaced camp, IDP camp, that dot the landscape of Benue State was quite revealing. Without that, their facial expression clearly gave us the weight of pains and the very prolonged, unpleasant experiences they bear in these camps, which evokes emotion. And from their snarling remarks, the deep-rooted growls they hold against the federal government over the continuous stay in the camps, they accompany or this came to the fore. Most of these women at the Se, Yandev, and Abagena IDP camps would have long gone to the great beyond but for the support they get from non-governmental organizations, NGOs, religious organizations, public spirit individuals, and the Benue State government for sustenance. In these separate counts of life in the IDP's camp, they explain why they cannot return to their ancestral homes with their children and grandchildren after 3 years. The women who decried the living condition in the camps attributed their long stay away from home to the insincerity of the federal government in the handling of the herdsmen crisis in Benue State. The women rightly or wrongly believe that federal government abandoned the Benue IDPs to their fate because of reasons they cannot tell. They wonder why the federal government has not been concerned about their plight over the past 3 years, while at the same time sending money and palliatives to other states affected by the herders crisis. Indeed, they are suspicious that the federal government might have refused to fulfill its promise to rebuilding their destroyed homes in order to leave their ancestral lands desolated to allow herdsmen occupy such communities unhindered. If not to allow herdsmen who destroy our homes and chase us away from our ancestral land to occupy our communities, why has the federal government refused to rebuild our houses, which they promised to do about 3 years ago? Ask a 87-year-old blind mama, Ukoho Kike, who was displaced alongside her children and grandchildren from Mbadwen in Guma local government area of the state. Says, what is our sin? Are we not Nigerians like those displaced in the north? Why is our situation different? The federal government is making provisions for the rebuilding of homes destroyed in the northeast, but those of us in Benue whose houses they promised to rebuild have been abandoned to die in IDP's camp. We are being treated as if we are not Nigerians because provisions are not also made for our feeding and upkeep in the camps and being done in the north. If the state governments, particularly churches, NGOs, and spirited individuals had not been there for us, these camps would have been graveyards. We also believe that the federal government is not keen to rebuild our homes because they want herdsmen to take over our abandoned communities while we remain perpetually in IDP's camps. They want herdsmen to continue with the killing and destruction of property in Benue State, but they forgot that the God who gave our governor the wisdom to come out with the grazing law that has brought peace to our state will not abandon us, just like he did for the Israelites. We are also not surprised because we know that we are being punished because we have a grazing law in place that has ensured relative peace in our communities, and they are not happy about that and they want it repealed. But our message is that we will rather die in IDP's camps than repeal the grazing law that has brought peace to Benue. If we die in the camps, our land will not be available for herdsmen. Like the stars of the heaven, our prosperity will take over our land. Our posterity will take over our land, which our forefathers bequeathed to us as inheritance. On her part, 82-year-old Maria Akete lamented that it was obvious that the federal government places more importance on the lives of cows than humans. Given the Benue IDP camps have been treated with disdain and describe it as a source of shame to the federal government. They want us to repeal our grazing law and accommodate our killers so that the killings can continue. That is why they have abandoned us in IDP camps, but we are happy with our law because it has brought peace to our communities. Our governor did what we wanted by giving us the law, and we are happy for that. If that is why they have abandoned us, we leave them to God, but we know that someday God will hear our cry, and our enemies will hide in their faces in shame. They will hide their faces in shame. Also speaking, 73-year-old Mama Ayona Ukireka, who was displaced from Umenge in Guma local government area, commended Governor Samuel Otom for standing for the truth and speaking for his voiceless people. He said, "We are happy with our governor who has been supporting the thousands of displaced persons who the federal government abandoned to die, but the burden is too much for the state government. Our consolation is that if we die in the IDP camp, our children will continue from where we stopped because our land will not be occupied and taken over by herdsmen." 80-year-old Mama Ade Achi, on her part, insisted that the federal government is punishing Benue State because Governor Otom is championing the anti-grazing campaign in the country. The law our governor introduced in Benue is working. So what is wrong if he's asking the country to also adopt it, if that will also ensure that herdsmen do the right thing and we have peace across the country? Instead of treating us in Benue badly, we should be supported and encouraged if the government is sincere about having peace in the country. And the ranching that our governor has been talking about, which is working in Benue, should be practiced in the entire country for us to have peace. Today we are enjoying peace in Benue compared to what we had before the coming of the law, and we are happy. We are also happy with the military operation, well stroked, because they are doing a lot to ensure peace in our states. We know that they cannot be everywhere at the same time, and we cannot have absolute peace, but we know that we are better today compared to when we did not have the law and the military were not there. So we commend the governor and the military operation. Narrating her experience in camp, 80-year-old Mama Teresa Ayongo, who said she lost 3 of her children during the crisis, lamented that life in the camp had been miserable because we can only feed when the state government, individuals and other organizations give us relief materials. We are tired and want to return home and start cultivating our farmland. Unfortunately, the federal government has refused to rebuild our homes, which they promised to do when the vice president visited us about 3 years ago. You can imagine 3 years ago, how many how many visits of the vice president to the Ogoni land that they said they are going to clean up Ogoni land. Hey, well, maybe they want us to die in the camp so that herdsmen will take over our communities. But God will not abandon us. We have not done any wrong. We have been displaced like the people in the north who are having their homes rebuilt. But for us in Benue, we are outcasts because we have a law that has brought peace, and they are not happy about that. But I know one thing, Benue will be remembered someday, and we will be recognized for leading the campaign to Nigeria, to have Nigeria embrace ranching and of course Governor Samuel Tom will be honored for championing the campaign, and our homes will be rebuilt. And even if some of us are not alive to witness it, our children will return home triumphantly, happier and grateful to God that He gave us victory, she added as she fought back tears. Buhari, shey you dey hear? Of course, now do you know it took Buhari how many months before he could go and visit these people when it happened then? Like they always say, enough is enough. A word is enough for the wise. So guys, let's hear your opinion concerning this old women's lamentations.